The whispers started the moment he walked in. Marcus Johnson, a broad-shouldered black man in his late 30s, moved through the grocery store with quiet focus, his firefighter's uniform crisp red, polished badge drawing sideways glances. Was used to it. The stares, the doubt, the unspoken question. You? A firefighter? Then came the laughter. Two college-aged guys in line behind him nudged each other, smirking. Yo, bro, where's the fire? Or are you just wearing that for attention? One sneered, voice dripping with mockery. Marcus didn't flinch. He'd heard it all before, but fate had a way of humbling the arrogant, and in less than 5 minutes, every screen in the store would be broadcasting his face as he ran straight into hell to save lives. The jokes would end. The shame would be theirs, and the world would remember exactly what a hero looked like. The laughter was sharp, cutting through the hum of the grocery store like a knife. Marcus Johnson, a tall, broad-shouldered black man in his late 30s, stood in line at the checkout, dressed in his bright red firefighter uniform. Two guys behind him, college-aged, smirking, elbowed each other. Yo, bro, you for real? That's a Halloween costume, right? One sneered. Nah, man, he's cosplaying as a real firefighter. The other chuckled. Marcus didn't turn around. He'd heard it before, the disbelief, the mockery. Black men don't save lives. Black men don't wear uniforms like heroes. He clenched his jaw but stayed silent. The cashier, an older woman, gave him a sympathetic look as she handed him his change. Ignore them, sweetheart, she whispered. Then screech. A deafening crash erupted outside. A speeding SUV had T-boned a school bus, causing it to skid onto its side. Flames licked at the twisted metal. Kids were trapped inside. Before anyone could react, Marcus moved. He sprinted toward the wreckage, pulling his gloves on mid-stride. The two guys who had mocked him stood frozen, mouths open. Inside the bus, chaos, smoke, screaming. A little girl, no older than 6, was pinned under a seat, her leg bleeding. Marcus didn't hesitate. He ripped the seat free with raw strength, then carried her to safety. Then he went back again and again. By the time other firefighters arrived, Marcus had pulled 7 children from the wreckage. His uniform was scorched, his hands burned, but he didn't stop until the last kid was safe. Then the cameras showed up. The news aired the rescue live. The footage went viral. By evening, every major network was playing the clip of Marcus, the same man who had been laughed at just minutes before saving lives with fearless courage. The two guys who mocked him? They were on camera too, standing uselessly on the sidewalk, their faces pale with shame. The next day, Marcus walked into the same store. The cashier beamed. The other customers clapped. And the two guys? They apologized. Man, we had no idea. You're a real hero. One STMMERED. Marcus just nodded. I always was, because heroes don't wear uniforms for applause. They wear them to act. And that day, the world was reminded, never judge a man by the color of his skin, but by the courage in his heart. Share if you believe in heroes who rise above hate. Weeks later, the story hadn't faded. Marcus became a symbol not just of heroism, but of quiet dignity in the face of ignorance. The video of his rescue garnered millions of views, and the two young men who had mocked him were publicly shamed, with their faces plastered across social media, accompanied by hashtags like #KarmaIsReal and #NeverJudgeAHero. But Marcus? He didn't revel in their downfall. Instead, he did something unexpected. One evening, as Marcus was leaving the fire station, he spotted one of the guys, Jake, waiting by his car, shifting nervously. You're the one from the store, Marcus sighed, voice steady. Jake swallowed hard. Yeah. Look, man, I came to say I'm sorry. For real. Not just because you're a hero, but because we were idiots. Marcus studied him. The kid's eyes were red, like he hadn't slept. Why now? Marcus asked. Jake hesitated, then pulled out his phone. On the screen was a picture of a little girl, the same one Marcus had carried from the bus. "That's my niece," Jake whispered. "If you hadn't been there," his voice cracked. Marcus exhaled. Hate could have won that day. But instead, something deeper had taken root. A month later, the local news ran another story. Former bully becomes firefighter recruit after life-changing encounter with hero. Jake had joined the academy. His friend Chris had started volunteering at a youth center, teaching kids about respect and courage. And Marcus? He became their mentor. At Jake's graduation ceremony, Marcus stood in the crowd, watching as the young man, once so quick to mock, stood tall in his own red uniform. When Jake spotted him, he saluted. Marcus nodded back. Because real heroes don't just save lives, they change them. And sometimes, the greatest rescue isn't pulling someone from flames. It's pulling hatred from the heart. Years later, the city unveiled a new mural downtown, a towering image of Marcus in his firefighter gear, arms outstretched, lifting a child from smoke and flames. At the base of the artwork, two smaller figures stood in uniform, Jake and Chris, now seasoned firefighters themselves. But the real story wasn't on the wall. It was in the firehouse. A 4-alarm blaze erupted in a high-rise apartment building. Trapped residents screamed from upper floors as flames swallowed the stairwells. Marcus, now a captain, led the charge. Jake and Chris were on his team. They fought through collapsing beams and blistering heat, pulling families to safety one by one. Then came the radio call. Child trapped on the 9th floor, last known location, northeast corner. Jake and Chris didn't hesitate. They ran back in. Minutes ticked by. The building groaned. Then collapse. A section of the floor gave way. Chris tumbled through, but Jake caught his arm at the last second, dangling him over a fiery chasm. "I can't hold on," Chris shouted. "Yes, you can," Jake roared, muscles burning. Then, strong hands grabbed them both. Marcus. He hauled them to safety just as the ceiling caved in behind them. At the hospital, soot-covered and exhausted, the three men sat in silence. Then Chris laughed weakly. "Remember when you two clowns made fun of Captain's uniform?" Jake shook his head. "Biggest regret of my life." Marcus looked at them, his brothers, and smiled. "Nah, that was just the first chapter." Today, their firehouse runs a mentorship program for at-risk youth. Kids who once saw firefighters as someone else's heroes now train alongside them, and every recruit learns 2 rules. The uniform doesn't make the hero, but the hero honors the uniform. As for Marcus, he still shops at that same grocery store. Now, when he walks in, cashiers stand a little taller. And if any young fool ever smirks at his uniform, the whole store shuts it down before he can even turn around. Because real change doesn't just save lives, it outlives us. Pass it on. Years turned Marcus' hair silver, but never dulled his spirit. On the day of his retirement, the entire firehouse stood at attention, not just for the legend, but for the standard he set. Jake, now a lieutenant, handed him an axe, engraved with 3 words, "We continue forward." The next generation of recruits, black, white, Latino, women, and men, saluted as one. Because Marcus had taught them the real meaning of the uniform. It's not about the color of the fabric. It's about the content of the character. Beneath it. As Marcus walked out of the station for the final time, the intercom crackled with tradition. "Attention. All units. Firefighter Marcus Johnson is going home." The dispatcher's voice broke just slightly as she added, "Your watch ends, brother. We have the line from here." And as the bay doors closed behind him, a new shift of heroes forged by his example already stood ready. The end. But the legacy.
Lives on ****. Share this story if you believe. Heroes walk among us, redemption is real, and the best way to honor a legend is to become one ****. Thank you for reading. Now go make a difference.